Okay, grade 12. So let's look at financial mathematics. Welcome to this lesson. If this is your first time watching our lesson, please make sure that you hit that subscription button, and by joining the family, I'll definitely make sure that you feel at home. So we're gonna work on finance. This is grade 12 lesson. Uh, Remember, I'm just gonna quickly remind you some of the things that you already know, but let's make sure that we are on the same page. Remember, A in financial maths, it denotes what? The final amount. So this will be the final amount. I hope you still remember that. Then we have what we call I, which will be the interest rate. So R, this is your interest rate. Right. Then we have N, which will be the number of what? The number of time interest rate is calculated. So someone can say the number of years. So this is the number of times. This will be the number of times. Interest rate is calculated. Okay, so now P is the principal amount, or we can say is the present value. Also have P, which is the principal amount. So this will be the this will be the principal amount, or someone can say the present value. Principal or the present value. I hope you're still with me on that. And then we're gonna have X. So now X, it will be the number of installments. So this will be the installment. If you will be making a monthly installment, then X will denote the installment. Then the last one is F, which will be the future value. Right, so it's very important that you understand all these things that we are currently going through. So we have A, I, N, P, X, and F. Please make sure that you understand these things, because we're gonna work on something very special here. Né? So look at this. When you work with finance, I need you to always ask yourself the following questions. You must ask, okay, always, this is the first thing that you need to do. You always ask yourself. Right. So you need to ask yourself, is there an installment or not? You need to ask yourself is there an installment? Whatever that you are working on, please make sure that you check if there's an installment or not. Okay, so if there's an installment, we know what formula we need to use, and if there is an installment, you need to know which formula that you need to use. So let's work on this. You ask yourself if there is an installment. So let's say that there is no installment. Okay, so there is no installment. The formula that you use, we're gonna say this is the simple interest, and the formula for simple interest, it's equals to P into 1 plus I, right, to the power, it's 1 plus I times N. So this will be 1 plus I times N. So this is the formula that we use if there is no installment, or it can be a compound interest, CI. It can be a compound interest, and the formula for compound interest, it will be A, it's equals to P into 1 plus I to the power N. So now we know that if there is no installment, it's either we are working with a simple interest or we are working with a compound interest. But what about if we have an installment? So let's say we have an installment, guys. Installment, we are talking about the money that you pay every month, a fixed amount of money. You can't say an installment is 200 this today, this month 200, next month 300. No, the installment is a fixed amount. Each and every month, if you are paying 200, we need to pay 200 every month. I hope you guys understand that part. So if you don't have an installment, this will be future value. So this will be the future value. So this will be the future value. So if is the future value, what are we going to use? Which formula do we use for future value? So f will be equals to x. Then I'm gonna open big brackets. Then inside the bracket we'll have 1 plus I, and this is to the power n. Please just copy the formula the way it is on your formula sheet. So this is divided by I. So it's either it's gonna be a future value or it's gonna be a present value. So if you are making monthly installment, you're gonna have a present value or a future value. So the f will be equals to what? The f will be equal to x. The difference between this one is that this time we say 1 minus that 1 plus to the power I, 1 plus I to the power n, then close the bracket, everything divided by I. So this is very important that you understand these things. We'll go through the future value and we'll also grow through the present value, because these are the most important formula that you're gonna work on. So now let's work on this. I'm just gonna first explain the future value, the formula for the future value. Right. So on this formula, remember the future value formula, we said it's f, it's equals to x. Into the bracket we have 1 plus I to the power n minus 1, everything divided by I. So it's very important that you note f, it will be your future value, and x will be the installment. This x, it will be the installment, the monthly payments. Right. So why do we use the future value? What is this formula used for? So it is used for what? It is used for loans. No, not loans, but investment. Investment. So if you hear the statement talking about the investment, just note that this is a future value. If you see the formula, the statement talking about the sinking fund, just know that this is a future value. And if they talk about the annuities, just know that this is a future value. You'll see when we do examples, everything will make sense. So the future value, it is used for investment, sinking funds. And then what about the present value? Right. The present value, this one we said it's P, it's equals to, P is the present value, it's x into, this is 1 minus 1 plus I to the power n, close the bracket, everything divided by I. So this one is used for loans. When you hear the statement talks about the loans, just note that this is present value. So if they talk about the loans, when you have money in the bank, let's say you have money in the bank. When you have money in the bank, in the bank. So I know that most of you guys, you put your money in the bank, and let's say that you want to withdraw the money, then this is a present value. You want to withdraw the money, then we're gonna refer that as a present value. Okay. Right, please make sure that you stay with me on this lesson, because we're going to have so much fun. We're going to have so much fun. Let's dive into examples so that you guys can understand how this works. So this is just an introduction to financial maths. So now we're just gonna work on certain examples. Okay, so let's say that we have an investment, right? Or we can say this is an I'm just gonna show you guys how the investment on or the annuities work, right? So on this one, we'll focus on the general example of all different proper possibilities. So we're gonna do examples. Let's say general examples of all the different possibilities. Né? General examples of all different possibilities. Please make sure that you move with me step by step, because guys, I have something good for you here. I have something good for you here. Like, so now let's say that let's say this will be example. I'm just gonna give you guys a statement. Let's say we contribute. We have contributions contributions of, I'm not gonna say the exact amount. Let's say we put a certain amount of money in the bank. So this is RX per month. Right? We're gonna put the contribution of RX per month. So when we say the RX, it can be 5,000, it can be 1,000, but just know that we're not gonna change the money and say this month we deposit this, the next month. No, it's gonna be a fixed amount. So this is per month. Okay, so from this the interest is compounded monthly. So let's say that we put the RX per month and the interest is compounded monthly. Okay, now if the interest is compounded monthly, let's say that this investment we invest for 3 years. So the investment lasts for 3 years. So the investment is over 3 years. Right, let's check all the general example of all different possibilities. Now, let's say first thing first, the question wants you to find, let's say the question wants you to find, let's say this is A. From this statement where we are making a certain amount of money in the bank, where we are putting a certain amount of money in the bank. Let's say they want you to find the value of the value of the investment. If listen, the value of the investment if the first payment takes place the first payment takes place at the end. Let's say it takes place at the end of the first month, because this is the first thing that they might ask you when the first installment takes place at the first of the month, at the end of the first month. Okay, let me quickly highlight this now. So the most important thing here is the first payment. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you guys can see that I'm trying to highlight this, and it takes place at the end of the month. The end, you see, it's very important that we also highlight that, because the end of the first month is also important. Now, please make sure that you keep that in mind. I'll also try to underline that part. The first payment at the end of the first month. So remember, you can also have what we call a number line. You can have a number line, because the best thing that you need to do is to put this on the number line like this. So when I put this on the number line, always start at 0, right? We start at 0, then we're gonna have the first month, all right? Then we'll have month 2, and then month 3, and all the way to how many months? They said for 3 years, and this is compounded. This is compounded monthly. So it will be 3 times 12, which is 36. Né? So this tells you that this one will be 36, which is the last payment. We'll make it at 36. This one will be 35. This one will be 34. So when you have your number line like this, they said that the first payment will be when? We're going to make the first payment. It will take place at the end of the first month. So the end of the first month, this will be the end of the first month. So this part here, this is the end of what? The end of the first month. I hope you are still with me on that. So that will be the end of the first month, and this very same place, it's also the beginning of the second month. Very important for you to understand that. So this will be the beginning. This will be the beginning of the second month. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And then now let's talk about the number of years and the number of payments that we're going to make. So we're gonna invest this for how many years? For 3 years. So this will be 3 times 12. So this is 3 times 12. So why are we saying 3 times 12? Because this is compounded monthly. So it is compounded monthly. The reason we are multiplying this by 12 is because it is compounded monthly. So this 12, it means that this is compounded monthly. So that's why we are multiplying by what? By that 12. Right. So the 3 here is the what? The 3 is the 3 years. I hope you're still with me on that. So ladies and gents, I'm going to introduce you to something very, very important, which is I'm going to introduce you to something nice that we call the interest component. Right. So when you work with finance, you also have to check the interest component. So now you need to ask yourself, what is the interest component? What is the interest component? I'm going to explain that as we keep on moving, and you're going to see that this will appear in most of your questions. Okay, so the interest component, look at this question that we have. We are contributing Rx per month, and the interest is compounded monthly for what? For 3 years. So now this question does not indicate when the last payment takes place. So we can see that this question does not indicate, right? Does not indicate when is the last payment taking place. Okay, where is the last payment take place? So now, if that one is not indicated on the question, therefore you need to assume that the payment stop on the last day. I need you to assume that the payment will do what? The payment will stop at the last day. At the last day. Right. So when we look at this, therefore this tells you that there will be no interest component. So we're going to conclude and say this question, there's no interest component. I know you're asking yourself now, what is this interest component? What is this interest component? You'll see when we do an example that needs you to also include the interest component. For this one, this question, if the question does not indicate when is the last payment taking place, I need you to assume that the payment will stop at the last day. So there is no interest component. So this tells you that the norm is only the start paying at the end of the first month. So then you need to choose the formula that you need to use. The formula that you need to use. Look at this. Do you have monthly payment? Do you have monthly installment? Yes. Then I'm going to say I have monthly installment. So this is the block that I need to focus on. I have the monthly installment. Then I need to choose, is this the future or is this the present value? You need to look at the question. The question set will have what? This is for investment. We are making monthly what? Monthly payments for what? For investment. So this will be future value. The correct formula will be that one. So this is how you choose the formula. So if you don't understand what is going on, just wait until we do the next example. So the future value will be x into 1 plus I to the power n minus 1, and everything is divided by I. So if we do the substitution, what are we making? We are making the monthly installment of Rx every month into 1 plus the interest rate, it's I, and then remember n will be 3 times 12. 3 times 12, then you minus 1 divide by I. So this is the formula that you're gonna use. Let's go to the second example. Remember the first question said find the value of the investment if the first payment take place at the end of the first month, but they did not indicate where the last payment take place. So how about if they indicate when the last payment take place? Let's look at this example. Let's find the value of the investment. The value of the investment if, let's say the first payment, so let's say the first payment take place at the end of what? At the end of the first month, which is the same one that we were working on, but this time they add that, but the payment stop. So now they indicate where is the payment stopping. The payment stop 1 month before. You see, the payment stop 1 month before you withdraw that money. So I need you guys to understand the difference between these two examples. Before you withdraw the money, ladies and gents, look at this question. The first question we said the contribution of Rx per month, interest and what. The first question A, find the value of the investment if the first payment take place at the end of the first month. So this one, they did not indicate where the last payment stopped. So on this one, let's assume that they indicate where is the last payment stopping. Remember the steps that you need to follow. What do you need? You need a number line. This is where you start so that you don't make a mistake. We're going to start at 0, then month 1, month 2. So this will be 1, 2, 3, and so on. And so on, all up to 36. Because the number of terms is 36, this will be 35, this is 34, and so on. So if we look at this, we need to understand where is the first payment taking place. The first payment takes place at the end of the first month. So this is the first payment. So at the end of the first month, this is the end of the first month, because this part here is your first month. So this is where we're going to have what? This is the first payment. Okay, this is where you make your first payment. But now if you look at this, we're gonna stop 1 month before, which is at month 35. So this is the last payment. This is the last payment. Before you withdraw the money, you're gonna wait for 1 month, then this is where you're gonna take out all your money. I hope you are still with me on that. So first thing first, what will be my N? So the number of terms, the number of payments will be what? The number of payments will be 3 multiplied by 12, which is 36. But we're not gonna make 36 equal payments. We need to subtract that remaining what? That remaining month. We need to subtract this month, because how many payments are we going to make? We're only gonna make 35 number of payments. So when we subtract that, this will be 12 times 3 times 12, you subtract 1. Therefore, this will give you the N to be 3 times 12 is 36 minus 1, that will be 35. So N is equals to 35. How many number of payments? 35. Please make sure that you understand what is going on this one. This is, if you understand the theory behind finance, it's gonna be easy for you to do the calculations. So now let's talk about the interest component. Now you're gonna understand what is the interest component. So look at the first question. We said no interest component. Why? Because the question does not indicate when is the last payment taking place. So we assume that the payment will stop at the last day. So there will be no interest component. But when the question indicates that it stopped 1 month before, there will be an interest component, because you're gonna leave your money for 1 month before you withdraw. That 1 month, your money will gain what? Interest. You see, that's what we call the interest component. So the interest component, since we have it, we need to calculate the interest component using the formula 1 plus I to the power of the number of months that we're gonna leave that one. So it's just for 1 month. So this one on top is the 1 month's interest that you're gonna leave the money in the bank. I hope now you understand what is the interest component. This one is what? The one is the 1 month. 1 month what? This one is the 1 month's interest. You see? So this is the 1 month's interest. So the interest that is calculated for the last month. I hope you understand what is going on here. So look at this. We need to choose the formula now. Let's go back to the formulas. You need to ask yourself, do we have installment or no installment? We have installment. So I'm just going to tick that. Is this the future or is this the present value? This is the future because it's an investment. So this is the formula that we need to use. Let's go and write our formula down. So the formula for this, we're going to use F, it's equals to X into 1 plus I to the power. Remember, this is to the power 3 times 12 with minus 1. Then this is minus 1. Okay? Then everything is divided by I. Since we know when is the last payment going to stop, we need to calculate the interest component. Just take this, multiply that by your interest component, which is to the power 1. And that's it. This is how you calculate the future value. So I think what I'm trying to show you guys is to know the formulas that you need to choose. How to choose your formula. Very important. Let's go and check another possibility, because in an exam they can ask this in many ways. Okay, this is not B, but this is C. So they can say that find the value of your investment. The value of the investment So the value of the investment, if let's say the first payment, okay, let's say the first payment takes place at the end of the first month, at the end of the first month, which is the same as the first question that we were working on, but you only take your money, you only withdraw, let's say the money after 4 years. Let's say you withdraw the money after 4 years. Let's say you withdraw the money after 4 years. Guys, look at this statement. We're going to invest the money for 3 years. Né? We are investing a money for 3 years. Then we're gonna withdraw after 4 years. So this tells you that we're gonna make 36 monthly payments. Né? Then after making 36 monthly payments, we're gonna leave this money for additional 1 year. This will be the monthly payments that we're gonna make. Then we're gonna leave this money for the remaining 12. So remember, it's very important to indicate this on your number line so that you don't make mistakes. So on my number line, this is 0. This will be my month 1, month 2, and so all up to month 34, 35, 36. So now remember, at 36, we need to add additional 12 months. So we're going to withdraw the money somewhere there at month 48. Because we're going to leave it for what? We're going to leave it for the remaining 12 months. So if you check, this will be your first payment. And then at 36, you're going to make your last payment. Then when you make your last payment, you're going to leave the set, but you only withdraw after 4 years. You're going to leave that for what? You're going to leave that for 1 year. You're going to leave the whole amount for 1 year. So we also have to calculate what we call the interest component. I hope you guys understand what is going on now. I think you get the idea of the interest component, how the interest component works. The interest component. Right. So before we do the interest component, let's find N. So remember, N will be what? We're going to invest money for 3 years, and we're going to make 12. This is component monthly. So N is just 3 times 12, which is 36. This is where we're going to make the last payment. Okay. So the interest component, it will be 1 plus I to the power the number of months that we're going to leave that what? That amount, which is the difference between 48 and 36 is 12. We're going to leave it for 1 year, which is 12. So that is your interest component. Remember, this is an investment with monthly payments. So the formula is the future. So this will be X into 1 plus I to the power 3 times 12 minus 1. And this is over I. Remember, multiply that by the interest component. This is how easy it is to work with finance. This is how easy it is to work with finance. Very, very easy. So this one, remember the 3 examples that we did. All of these 3 examples, please pay attention. All of these 3 examples, the first payment takes place at the end of the first month. You see, even this one, the first payment takes place at the end of the first month. And then this one, the first payment takes place at the end of the first month. I'll try to work on when the first payment does not take place at the first of the first month. So now, the difference between these questions is when the last payment takes place. So remember, if they indicate on the question, when is the last payment taking place, just note that you'll have the interest component. And if that is not indicated on the question, I need you to assume that you have no interest component, because we're going to assume that the last payment will take place at the last day at the last day. So now let's work on more examples, okay? Because this is good. We have something good, guys, going on here. So let's say that number D. Let's find the value of the investment. The value of the investment. Let's find the value of the investment if the, let's say this time the first payment takes place immediately and let's say the rest at the end of the month. Guys, let me explain what is going on here now. So you go to the bank and you request to open an investment account. So now they ask you, hey sir, how much can you put in the account per month? And I'll be like, okay, I can put 500 every month. And they'll say, okay, to open this account, we'll need 500 now to activate the account. We need you to put your first installment now, then the other 500 you're gonna put them at the end of every month. I hope you guys understand. So when you go to the bank, they don't say the bank the account is open, sir, and then you'll make your first payment at the end of the first month. No, they say we need the first payment now. So when it is immediately, you draw the number line. Where do we start? I think you already have the answer. At the end of the first month, we used 1. So immediately we're gonna make the first payment at 0. So this 0 is where you're gonna make your first payment. Please, when you see the first payment takes immediately, just know that you're gonna make your first payment at 0 and the last payment at 36. I hope you guys understand that. So the last payment will be at 36. Right, so let's work on this. When we deposit an amount immediately, what will be N is 3 times 12. Then this time, remember, we started at 0, so we need to add 1. So since we add 1, N is equal to 3 times 12 plus 1. So how many number of payments are we going to make? 37 number of equal payments. So now, do we have the interest component? Yes or no? This is what I need you to ask yourself. So what about the interest component? So if you look at the question, they never mentioned anything about the last payment. So if you don't see the last payment, you assume that there is no interest. There's no interest component. No interest component, né? Because they never said anything about the last payment. So which formula are we going to use? The formula, this is for future. It's x into 1 plus I to the power 3 multiplied by 12 minus 1. Remember, this is 3 times 12. We need to add 1. Then this is divided by I. There's no interest component, so I don't have to multiply anything there by the interest component. Right, let's go to another one. I hope you guys understand this one and you can see how this works. You see, if you understand the theory behind finance, then you're gonna master all these questions. So let's say now we need to find the value of the investment if the first payment takes place immediately. Let's say it takes place immediately, and then the last payment, and the last payment. So the last payment is gonna be 1 month before you withdraw the money. Okay, before you withdraw money. Let's work on this one. Remember, number line, very important. 0, 1, 2, all the way to 35, 36. So if you look at this, now let's first identify where is my first payment. So this is my first payment. This is where I'm gonna make my first payment. Remember, I said immediately we start at 0. So this will be my first payment, right? And we're gonna stop 1 month before. So we're gonna stop at 35. So this is my last payment, right? So what will be n? N is gonna be 3 times 12. Then remember, we need to add 1, which is this part. We started at 0. But now this is very tricky, because remember, we're gonna make the last payment 1 month before. So we also have to subtract that 1. So we need to subtract the 1. So n is just 3 times, n is just 3 times 12. So n will just be 3 times 12. So they're just trying to play with your mind. Né? So now, do we have the interest component? Yes or no? And the answer is yes. Why? Because they mentioned the last payment. So since they mentioned the last payment, we do have an interest component. So the interest component, remember, it's 1 plus I to the power number of months that we're gonna leave that money, which is 1. So the interest component for the last month, that's the formula for the interest component. Therefore, to calculate the future value, this is x into 1 plus I to the power 3 times 12 minus 1 over I. We have the interest component. You multiply this by the interest component. I hope you guys understand what is going on here. I hope you guys understand what is going on. We can also do the last one. Then we're gonna work on loans, which is where we're gonna use the present value formula. So on our next lesson, we'll focus on the loans. Here we were doing the investment. So the investment, we use the what? We use the future value formula. So our next lesson will focus on the loans. So let me quickly do the last example. Let's say that we need to find the future value of the investment. And for this one, let's say if the first payment takes place, let's say it takes place at let's say immediately, and the last payment at the end, let's say the last payment at the end of last month, at the end of the last month. Right, so since it is the end of the last month, then but you only withdraw the money after 4 years. Let's say, but you only withdraw the money the money You withdraw the money after 4 years. So I think you already know how will this one look like. Remember, number one, we need to first put this on the number line. We make an immediate payment. So, and then we stop at 36. But we're gonna wait and leave this money until month 48. So let's indicate everything that we know. This is my first payment. Why? Why is that my first payment? Because we said immediately we start at 0. And then we're gonna stop where? The last payment at the end of the last month, which is 36, because we are investing this for 3 years. So we're gonna stop at 36. So this tells you that to find n will just be 3 multiplied by 12, then we add 1. Why? We started at 0. So we don't have to subtract anything because the last payment is at 36. Then this is my n. To find the interest component. The interest component, why are we having the interest component? Because we're gonna leave this money for the another year, which is 12. So the interest component will be 1 plus I. We need to know the interest that the money will get for that 12 months. From 36 to 48, that's 12 months. This is easy. So the formula for future value, f is equals to what is this? X into 1 plus I to the power what? 1 plus I to the power 3 times 12 plus 1 minus 1 divided by I. Remember, we need to multiply that by the interest component. And that's it. So guys, I'm looking forward to see you on our next lesson where we're gonna work on loans, and I promise you guys that we're gonna do all the general example of the different possibilities now, so that you can understand how this works. So this was the future for the future, how to know if for the future if you have an interest component and so on. Thank you very much for watching the lesson. If you enjoyed the lesson, please make sure that you hit that subscription button, and I'll see you on our next lesson.